Well, we've come to the last episode of our message series called Growing the Pie. And throughout this series, we've been talking about our vision for the future. And as we've been saying over and over again, church is not a building. It's not something we do. It's not merely a gathering of people on Sundays. Church is much more than that. It's a movement of people all moving together toward a common goal. And the goal we're seeking is to build the kingdom of God on earth. And kingdom building always begins and ends with a big vision that hopefully leads to a big impact. As a Roman Catholic church in the southern Marin County, we strive to be a community growing in faith where everyone loves to belong. That's our vision. We're seeking a future where everyone in our little corner of the world, the most unchurched region in the country, will receive the timeless message of Jesus and one day call him Lord and King of the universe. And to realize that vision, we've said throughout this series that we need several key ingredients. We need servant leaders and strong faith to guide us. We need passion and drive for the kingdom of God. We need wisdom to respond to the signs of the times. We need participation, everyone to be active, engaged, and involved, however God is calling them to be, so that one day we will all be together to meet Christ the King when he comes again. Now, this week in the gospel, Jesus gives us an inside view of what this kingdom looks like. We hear this all the time, building the kingdom, building the kingdom. Well, what does that kingdom look like? And so Jesus gives us a glimpse of that in the gospel reading. So here's what happens. The Roman governor, Pontius Pilate, is trying to decide what to do with Jesus. Jesus has been handed over for execution by the Jewish religious authorities, but he's not been charged with any crime under Roman law. And so Pilate has no idea what to do with him. He's confused, and so he begins his interrogation with the thing that he's most concerned about. You see, anyone claiming to be a king would be an automatic rival to the Roman emperor and a threat to Roman rule. And so this is where Pontius Pilate begins. He asks Jesus point blank, "Are you the king of the Jews?" In other words, are you a threat to Roman rule? Well, Jesus avoids the trap. He turns the question back on Pilate and he says, "Do you say this on your own, or have others told you about me?" Pilate is in no mood for verbal sparring, so he cuts to the chase and he says, "What have you done?" And it's then that Jesus reveals the nature of his kingdom and three characteristics that make his kingdom different from any other kingdom. So first of all, Jesus says, "My kingdom does not belong to this world. It is not here." His kingdom actually comes from above. That's what he means when he says it's not here. It comes from above because his kingdom is not based on wealth or land or armies like most kingdoms are. His kingdom is based on something much different, something much loftier. His kingdom is based on the relationship between God, who is above, and every human being. That's the first characteristic of Jesus' kingdom. It's a relationship between God and humanity. And those who belong to the kingdom belong to God. But Jesus goes on. And he says, "For this I was born, and for this I came into the world, to testify to the truth." That means those in God's kingdom belong to something greater than themselves. They actually belong to what Jesus calls the truth, which is himself, Christ himself. You know, everyone belongs to something, but if you belong to the truth, you can't belong to a lie, obviously. If you belong to a kingdom of truth, you can't belong to a counterfeit kingdom. And so that's the second characteristic of Jesus' kingdom. Those who belong to God's kingdom belong to the truth. And then Jesus reveals the last aspect of his kingdom. He says, everyone who belongs to the truth listens to my voice. He says that because earlier in chapter 10 of the Gospel of John, he refers to himself as the Good Shepherd, who walks ahead of the sheep, and the sheep follow him, and they follow him because they recognize his voice. But the key to that passage is that Jesus says that there are others who do not yet follow his voice, who are outside of his flock, that he still must shepherd. He says, I have other sheep that do not belong to this fold. They also I must lead, and they will hear my voice, and there will be one flock, one shepherd. In other words, his kingdom is not exclusive. His kingdom is for everyone. And that's the third characteristic of Jesus' kingdom. Those who belong to his kingdom belong together, and they belong to each other. That's the kingdom we're working to build. A kingdom where everyone belongs to God, to the truth, and to each other. Our vision is to create a church experience that is so irresistible that everyone will want to belong to that kingdom. And we're asking you to partner with us in that vision. Today is our first ever Stewardship Sunday. It is and will be the only weekend of the year when we ask you to consider, to think about what you're giving to this church, and to make a faith commitment to your parish for the weekly offertory next year. Believe it or not, money is a spiritual issue, and how you use the money that God has placed in your hands greatly affects your relationship with Him. There are many great causes out there doing wonderful, important work, and I hope you support them. But the church is God's primary instrument for building a kingdom of love that will endure forever. The greatest investment that you can make with your money is in your local church. The return on investment is out of this world, trust me, because we are making an eternal difference in people's lives. But I don't want you to just take my word for it. I want you to take a look at the fruits of your giving so far.
With the arrival of COVID-19 in March 2020, the world changed. Information needed to be disseminated quickly from the rectory to parishioners, mostly through email, our website, and social media. Now, in November 2021, roughly a year and a half after the pandemic began, we have a new website and a new mobile app. Our Facebook followers have increased by 60%, and we currently have over 500 subscribers to our YouTube page. Between 300 and 600 people continue to watch our Mass online each week. The first step for many Catholics who may be considering returning to church is to watch Mass online. So it's important to provide the best online experience we can. Without the generous support of parishioners who have continued to donate throughout the pandemic, we would not be able to meet this need.
One of the first changes was a move to a message series format. Every 4 to 6 weeks, depending on the series, St. Hilary Masses are unified with a single theme that is reflected in the homilies, the music, and the children's programs at church and in the school. Another change was to a more contemporary style of music. St. Hilary hired top-notch musicians to help lead us in worship. The pandemic required that we pivot quickly to adapt to changing circumstances. This necessitated the purchase of audio upgrades and equipment. Volunteers were recruited and trained for 2 newly needed ministries: tech and chat hosting for the live stream Mass. Our existing greeter ministry was crucial due to the fact that government regulations required that parishioners be checked in and have their temperatures checked. Now that COVID regulations have relaxed, our hospitality program has restarted with coffee, juice, and donuts, and the youth programs are once again held in person.
The progress we've made with small groups at St. Hilary is pretty extraordinary, especially coming out of a pandemic. We now have 13 small groups. The groups have many different reasons for being, from Bible study to prayer to the rosary to books. The connection, the bond that the members form transcends that just hour in time.
A safe place is created for people to be able to share what's meaningful to them. Where else would I get that? I mean, where else would I have these kind of conversations? I guess unless I was in therapy. And this is certainly not therapy, but maybe it is. Maybe it's spiritual therapy.
To find younger people that had the same beliefs as I was, that were struggling with the same things as I was, it made not only COVID, but life feel a lot less lonely. Sorry, Mom, got a tattoo. But it does say, when I put my hands together, it says pray. It just has served as a reminder for me of, again, my relationship with God and how that has strengthened, and my relationship with the St. Hilary's community, my small group, my mom, just everything in my life. It meant so much to me. So I got the prayer hands.
I think because I am able to integrate it more fully into my thoughts and my heart on a weekly basis, it becomes a part of who I am, and that impacts how I treat people, how I think about life, how I think about struggles in life, how I think about addressing difficult conversations, about waking up each day and making it a better day and greeting the day with more positivity, and really carrying my faith with me more fully and more consciously than ever before.
There's not too many other places you can talk about spirituality and open your heart like there are these small groups. So the hour goes by very, very fast. So spirituality has a tendency to be this amorphous thing that is hard to describe or doesn't seem to have practical applications, where I'm finding just the opposite.
I've been involved with the divorce ministry and healing group, but what brought me into the smaller group involvement had to do more with a medical emergency that I experienced earlier this year. I suffered from a ruptured cerebral aneurysm. The divorce ministry was there from the get-go. They came and they stayed overnight at my house. They organized dinners to be brought over every night, and they also just came and spent time with me during the daytime just to make sure I wasn't alone. So I really felt like I had family here.
You know, when I joined this divorce small group, I felt immediately like I belonged somewhere, and there were other people that were going through the same experience I had, so I wasn't alone. And my life changed. I also realized that it wasn't about the loss of love, but it was about meeting the love of Christ. So that's what for me changed. It was about having that personal relationship with Jesus, and that's where I find that my life was completely transformed.
Each year, our parish is guided by a theme. The theme this year is Pray Together, Stay Together, because we're working on connecting with God through prayer. Every week, our blog focuses on a different style of prayer. Students at our school are visiting our Adoration Chapel, and we've been encouraging parishioners to make a commitment to pray in the chapel on a regular basis. We've also been learning about going deeper in prayer in a 4-week workshop on centering prayer. But most of all, we're praying that our parish grows in numbers, in faith, and in putting our faith into action. In fact, that's our vision for the future. We strive to be a community growing in faith, where everyone loves to belong. Our current Sunday message series is called Growing the Pie, because we truly believe that when each of us contributes what we can, great things can happen. I want to thank you personally for your generous contributions to this parish. I know that with your help and prayers, we can grow the pie and fulfill our mission of making Jesus matter to everyone. Thank you for your generosity. I just have one question for you based on that video. When did I get so old? You know, I heard the camera adds like 10 pounds, but I didn't know it added like 1,000 wrinkles. Anyway, last weekend we invited you to pray about your faith commitment to this parish for the coming year. And so as you came into church today, I hope you were given one of these commitment cards. If not, they're in the pews. There's extras all over the pews. And I just ask you to take some time after this homily. We're going to ask the ushers to wait about 2 minutes into the offertory song to give you time to fill it out. And so if you're ready, just fill it out and put it into the collection basket with your ordinary offering, your weekly offering. But look, if you're not ready, if you need more time to think about it, just take that card home with you, please, and pray over your faith commitment this week and bring it back next weekend and put it in the collection basket. And as you're considering what your faith commitment will be, we just ask you to remember a few important things. First, giving should be a priority, not an afterthought. Second, our donation should be carefully planned, not based on whatever happens to be in our wallets at the time we're asked to give. Third, we should plan the amount of our gift based on a percentage of our income. The Bible talks about a tithe, which means 10%, but just start at whatever percent God is calling you to give, and then work up from there, because our giving also should be progressive and increase over time. We stand here for a kingdom where everyone belongs to God, to the truth, and to each other. It's a beautiful vision when you really think about it, but one that we are still working towards, because vision belongs not to the present, but to the future. And we can make that future so much brighter when each of us makes a generous faith commitment to help grow the pie for God. As we learned in the gospel a few weeks ago about the widow, your 2 cents can make a huge impact.